And welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. Of course, I am your host, Coach Camp, and I am down here in these awesome studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. As you guys can see this week, we have a Zoom interview, but we have a very special guest. If you're keeping up with stuff, I talked about coming up with a small mini high school series talking about high school athletes and what it's like being a student, being an athlete, and then going out there into the real world to do the things that you love. And so this week we have a very special guest. He's coming to me via his mom. Actually knew his mom back in high school, so known a little bit, I would say, about this young man's career so far because of following him on social media. And I know that he is going to be a superstar in the future, and he's probably got an amazing story, and I know he's going to say some stuff that's going to relate to you. So his name is Landon Harmon. He is a baseball player. He's a senior. He just finished up at East Union High School, and we're going to jump all into his story, what it's been like on this ride of playing baseball. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break so that you guys can see some of my amazing sponsors. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to have a quick second to let you guys know how much it means to me that you are my sponsor. SRP Studios, The Real Hernando, The Rhythm Section, Hardwick, Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality, Estes, Grading, Hodge Homes, Adair, Honey Farm, Miss Hippie Eats, Phones R Us, Ross, Sod Farms and Landscaping, Ivy Rain, Women's Clinic, Tonic POS by Tyler Young, and Coffee Central. Thank you guys so much for being a sponsor. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go to my website now, motivatecoachcamp.com, and click on the button. Thank you. All right, welcome back. And here we are, Mr. Landon Harmon. Landon, welcome to the Motivate with Coach Camp podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you, sir. So look, man, I know that you played baseball for a long time. Tell me a little bit about growing up. What was it like for you? When did you start playing ball?
Man, I started playing ball like really, really young. At first, it was just because my older brother played it. But I kind of stuck with it. I just loved the game and kept with the game. I was actually homeschooled until 8th grade. So baseball was kind of like the only thing like I really like. I mean, I knew obviously we did work and stuff, but
yeah,
it wasn't near as much work as like public school. And, it's not as time consuming and stuff like that. So I had time to go to pitching lessons and hitting lessons and stuff like that. And so baseball was pretty much all I was thinking about.
How old were you when you started up in baseball?
I was like T-ball. It was like 3 years old.
Oh, so you straight out the box. You start walking. Maybe you got a couple words in your vocabulary, and you're like, baseball's one of them.
Pretty much.
So you said older brother. How much older is he than you?
He's 20, so he's like 21 months older than me.
Okay, so having an older brother obviously plays into you always trying to, I'm saying this, but correct me if I'm wrong, trying to keep up with the bigger guy, playing at the same level at an early age, would you say?
Yes, sir. But he stopped playing at like 8, so I kind of had to, yeah. He's not as much of a sports guy like me, but
I got you. Did you play any other sports?
I played golf my junior year. I was on the golf team, and then I also played football my 8th grade year.
Okay, so just touched a couple other things, but baseball was your thing from age 3 moving forward. So then you said you were homeschooled, and you're right, that flexibility. I've had family members, plenty of friends that were homeschooled, and for those that can do that kind of homework at the house and stay disciplined to it, it does allow for flexibility. So then when you were at a young age, you had time to dedicate to baseball. How much were you saying that you were putting in on practicing or playing the game?
It really just depends. Like at that age, I was working heavily on not just pitching, but like hitting too. And then like the pitching lessons, when I was like younger, like 8, they were like 30 minutes away. But as I got older, pitching coaches they got harder to find and stuff like that. So I had to travel a little bit farther. We ended up traveling like an hour and a half to pitching lessons, sometimes an hour. It just depends. So I would go around from different pitching coaches and stuff like that. And it would be really time consuming, not just because I'm actually like working on it, but just because of the drive over there.
Sure. And I get what you're saying too, depending on where you live and depending on what the thing is you need. Sometimes you got to go a distance to be able to get that kind of expertise and that kind of training. What was your influence? What drew you towards pitching in the game of baseball?
I'm not really like sure. I think it might have been just because like I had an arm ever since I was like little. Like
Mm,
I was like 8 years old, they were like putting radar guns on me. It wasn't like crazy fast or anything, but it was like, it's like wow, because I was just above like the kids I was playing with at the time. So, and then obviously like my dad, he put me in pitching lessons when I was 8 years old. So that was also part of it because I got to like fix my form before like anyone else. And then once you fix your form, then all you have to work on is strength. So I think that's kind of the main reason why I like pitching is because I started so young. I kind of got like a head start on everybody else. And then also like obviously God-given ability. He's
yeah.
given me the talent.
I think that that is a lot of truth to everything in life. If you have a natural ability to something and then you cultivate that to where you can become really good at it, I mean, when you're good at something, it makes it more fun. Let's just be honest. So, your dad, did he play baseball?
He did a little bit, but it wasn't like I don't think he even played it in high school. He played football in high school.
I was curious because I was wondering if he saw the talent at an early age. Being a coach, and I've coached everything from T-ball all the way up to adult league baseball, age of 25, 30, and you see varying talents. But when there's a young person that has what I like to refer to as the it factor, you just see how they have swagger, the way they approach the game, the way they pick the game up. He obviously saw that in you, so they started investing that. Now, that's the one part. You have to have somebody that sees that talent and then wants to pursue it. But the other part is the person that's being invested into. They have to want it. So, did you find yourself falling in love with it at a very early age?
Yeah, so I always go back to the story. My dad actually, one time I don't know how old I was, but I was decently young, so I still like, didn't think of baseball as anything crazy. I just thought of it, as something fun. But he offered me a boat. He offered to buy a boat for me, and he was like, "But if I buy this boat, like I'm not gonna have like money for like travel ball and stuff like that." I was like, "All right, well, I don't want a boat then." Like I
Wow.
turned it like pretty much immediately. So, I mean, I still thought of it as something fun, but it's like something fun that I couldn't live without, you know?
Yeah. So that's interesting because at a young age, sometimes, a kid can be good at something, but they don't have a passion for it. And then when they're distracted with some other kind of thing, in this case being a boat, I could see how you would be like, hey, look, we're going to go skiing and stuff. This is going to be awesome. But you knew then at a young age that this was something you wanted to continue to pursue. Now, this next question comes hand in hand with the young part of you because we're going to build the story all the way up to where Landon is today and what the future looks like for you. But going back to those early days, you already said that you had a standout arm above the other kids that you were playing around at 8 years old. You had started taking pitching lessons. You had started to cultivate this love and passion for the sport. Now, look, I am speaking to this completely humbly. I had the same thing kind of happen at the age of 7. Had this thing click, and I was really good at baseball, and I was a lot better than a lot of the kids I was playing with. But I had a problem. About age 9 or 10, I also started acting like I was better than everybody, and that actually gave me a problem with getting better because you didn't think you had to work as hard. Clearly, that didn't happen, or maybe it did, but you corrected course. Tell me a little bit about what kept you centered and humbled, or did you have a moment where you went off the tracks and you had to get brought back?
I don't think like again, like when I was in eighth grade, like I had a decent arm and stuff like that, but it wasn't like I was the number one like pitcher, you know what I mean? I'm still
Mm,
not like the number one pitcher, but like that gives me like a drive to get better. Like obviously, yeah, I mean even if I was, I feel like I'd still have a drive because there's always somebody that's like ahead of you. Because
mhm.
obviously, like in the major leagues, like I don't care what high school you are or what college pitcher you are, there's somebody in the major leagues that's better than you. And now, if you get to the major leagues and you're the best pitcher, that I mean, maybe maybe you have something going there. But um, it's it's really hard to like to put into words. But I just kind of like set my path out in my mind. Like when I was I think I was 15. is when I hit 90 for the first time. And I thought to myself, like, if I just gain like 3 miles an hour each year, then I'll be in good shape. Which I ended up like doing that. But if you don't like set a goal for yourself, like it's
Mm.
really hard to get better. And it doesn't have to be like a crazy goal. It just has to be like it just has to be some sort of goal that you're not there yet, and you have to work and you have to get better. It's different for everyone what that goal should be. But for me, I kind of moved my goals as like life went on. So like my first offer was freshman year, freshman summer. I got like offers from Mississippi State and Ole Miss and stuff like that. And then what was my next goal? My next goal was obviously to get so good that I could get drafted out of high school. So
Mm.
you just kind of got to like set your new goals as you go on. As you complete goals, you just set new ones.
Landon, you just said a whole lot about what Coach Camp stands for, my friend. Have you been following all of my things? Because you nailed it so well. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 18.
18. So that is rare a lot of times. Let's say rare, but who knows? I guess it all depends on who you're hanging around. But for an 18-year-old to have such wisdom, one, the process has to be about you. You have to try to be better than you were yesterday, tomorrow, and the next day. You're constantly trying to grow who you are. The best way to do that is to set goals. And the only way you're going to achieve a goal is to be intentional. And you've got to go after those goals, and you're going to have setbacks, and you got to be determined. So all along the way, you got to constantly stay focused on what that thing is you're trying to get better at. And then as you start to reach those goals, you hit reset. That's exactly how you got to approach life. Life is not static in nature. It's not sitting still. It's going to constantly keep moving. So that's the best way to be the best version of you, is to constantly keep striving to be the next thing for yourself, not looking at someone else. Now, I like the fact, though, that you talked about once you get to the big leagues and maybe you're the best pitcher in the big leagues at the time. What you also alluded to, which is true, it's always for a period of time because somebody's fighting to take that spot from you, and that person's coming, and Father Time eventually will take it from you. So you've got to enjoy the ride and try to ride it as long as you possibly can. Now, we tied up a whole lot of stuff right there, and that was pretty cool. I like that, Landon. You're doing a good job, by the way, for not having done a podcast. You're hitting points that I know people are going to love. So when you're young, it's really a temptation to coaches to overpitch kids. If you're a really good pitcher, look, I'm a coach now. I coach 14U softball. If you've got somebody that's really good at something, you have to kind of make sure you're paying attention to the player. You don't want to push them past their limit. You don't want to hurt them, because the truth is, if you're in a tournament or something, you're like, man, I got Landon over here on the bench. I need to put him in right now. I know he's already thrown 200 pitches this weekend, but man, we could shut this guy down. We could win the tournament. What was that like for you growing up, especially in those pivotal years from like 10 to 14, where pitchers get burned up and their arms get turned into noodles? Did you face anything like that, and how'd you stay on it?
So I told you, like, obviously I've been going to a pitching coach since I was 8. Well, the pitching coaches give you like mechanical tips, but they also give you like, arm care tips and stuff like that. They pretty much tell me like, if coach tries to pitch you or something like that, and you're not feeling too well and stuff like that, you can just tell them no. So I was actually telling coaches no from like a pretty early age. And then another thing is, you see so many kids throwing curveballs at like 9 years old. That is so terrible for your arm. It is so bad. I didn't throw like a off speed. Well, I had my changeup, which a changeup's not going to hurt you. I had changeup, four seam, two seam. I had those 3 pitches until I was like 13, 14 years old. So I didn't even develop. I still don't even throw a curveball. I throw like a sweeper.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the curveball at a young age it's a no. If you want to have that arm health and for your older age, that was like a big thing for me.
Yes, you've got to be intuitive to paying attention to your body's mechanics. Look, big leaguers all the time, you'll see them on the mound pitching, and then they'll feel something that's not right, and they'll call the trainer out, and they'll pull themselves out of games at times. And that's where sometimes a player may have too much pride. They may find themselves in a position where they don't want to, quote, and I'm using air quotes on this, let the team down. And so they try to push through something that they know better than. So clearly you had a good mindset. It sounds like you had some good mentors in your life that were training you the right way to be able to be successful in the long run. What was some of the tips that they gave you for arm care? Because I think that's something that my viewers would love.
Arm care, obviously, like what I do for arm care is with- like bands and like plyo balls and stuff like that. But I also like there's a what do you call it? There's like a schedule you have to put yourself through because like you don't need to be throwing like every single day if you're a pitcher. So a lot of times when I throw the next day, I'll still do bands and stuff like that, but I won't throw like at all. I won't even like pick up a baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously if you're not playing too, so like if I didn't pitch that week, I'll still put in a day where I just don't pick up a baseball. And I think that was big for me because it just lets your arm like get a chance to just rest and like reset.
Did you do the icing and all that, I would imagine?
Yes, so I do icing right after I pitch for like 20 minutes. And then I also do a Mark Pro. It's like a stem machine and
Mm-hmm.
it's really, really good for recovery. I do it before I pitch because it helps like loosen the muscles up before you pitch. And then I do it after I pitch because it helps with recovery, like I said.
Regimented routines, but also very intentional routines that are specific to the healing process and the preventative maintenance process. Once a person starts to have problems, and let's face it, I'm not telling you something you don't know. Clearly, you're all baseball minded on this. I mean, Tommy John surgeries almost feel like they come a dime a dozen. You're constantly seeing pitchers go down. My favorite team is the New York Yankees. Garrett Cole this past year down with Tommy John surgery. So as a young person being aware of those dangers, understanding that this kind of thing can happen at a young age, you're doing a lot of things right, obviously. So, with that being said, when you get into high school and now the game is up and you're pitching more, what does your day-to-day routine look like as far as like how often you're pitching, what your warm-ups are, how many days out do you pitch? Do you pitch on a 5-day rotation, a 4-day rotation? What does that look like for a high school player?
So during the regular season, it would be once a week with
Okay.
every 7 days. But like I will pitch if the opportunity comes, I will pitch like on the fifth day. But normally, like I don't even have to do that because division is just 2 games every week. It's 2 games, so I'll pitch one, and then game two will pitch the second game.
Did you have a pitch count that you have to go by?
I did so. I didn't when I was younger.
Hmm.
I should have, but anyways, when I got older, it was 100 pitches if I like absolutely needed to throw 100 pitches. But a lot of times, like I didn't need to throw 100 pitches. Like there's a couple games like earlier in the year, like you can't just go to your max like right off the gate. First game, second game, you can't. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be good. And then a
Hmm.
lot of times, like the score, if we're beating them like really badly, there's no point in me continuing to pitch when we just don't need it.
Yeah, making smart decisions when opportunities present. And you see coaches make those mistakes sometimes where they keep the person into a position. Look, you can do this in a lot of sports, football in particular. I think back of running backs and quarterbacks even in high school situations or young people where the score was out of hand one side or the other, and they keep their aces in there, so to speak, and they end up getting hurt in a play that was not necessary. So that's good point, great point on that. Did you ever have a moment where you had arm issues and you had to shut it down? And if you did, what was those arm issues? What did it look like?
I actually I don't think I've had arm issues during the season, surprisingly.
Mm.
So I've had like a couple during the off season, but it was because I tried to like ramp it up too quickly, and because you got to work, you take that rest period.
Hmm.
Everybody should have like 6 to 8 weeks where they don't even pick up a baseball. So you have that rest period, and then once you start back throwing, you have to ease your way up to it. You got to be like 30%, 40%, 50%. You have to ease your way into it. And if you try to rush that, that's when because I had tendonitis. I got tendonitis twice.
Mhm.
and it's from like just trying to rush into it, try to throw your max right off the gate. So that was only like problems that I've had. I actually haven't had a problem like in game where I had to be taken out.
Yeah. So as far as like injuries and stuff go, it is just paying attention to it and doing those exercises you should do and the arm care that you talked about already. And it started at an early age, it sounds like, with you. Now, using it from that moment when you're young, there's another thing I know about kids. Nobody's just a pitcher when you're young. You also play the field. What was your position in the field?
When I was younger, it was third base. As I got a little older, my arm got stronger, and then obviously like right field was kind of a position that we needed. Because not to say that you don't need a strong arm for third base, but in right field, you can
That's the,
possibly.
that's the strongest arm usually on the team. You're right about that. Yeah. I mean, that's why Aaron Judge plays out there. And when he had to go to center, it didn't make a lot of sense. You need the guy with the strongest arm in right field. So did that ever play to you being in the field, but also you've pitched recently? So obviously they don't want you to put you out there in right field. We have this long throw, maybe to third base and blow something out. Did that ever come into play for you?
It did a couple times. Sometimes I'd be like, coach, I'm a little sore today, like I'm really like not feeling it. So I actually like DH'd a couple times but I would only like do that if it was like the day after I pitched,
Mm-hmm.
like if my arm was like not feeling great at all.
So playing the field, that also means you bat. Talk about your hitting a little bit. What was that like when you were young?
When I was young, it was honestly I was probably a better hitter when I was younger because
Really?
like I wasn't thinking at all. That's man, hitting is so much about thinking. It is so mental. It's honestly, I think it's more mental than pitching is because like you have to get inside the pitcher's head. I mean, if you're a pitcher and you're trying to get inside the hitter's head, you could fail and still succeed because he just swings over it and misses it or like fouls it off. You don't know. He could be all over it and foul it straight back.
Sure.
You get away with a lot more when you're pitching.
That's an interesting perspective. And to what you're saying for the viewers out there that may not understand what that means is as a batter, you're trying to think, is this guy going to go off speed? Is he going to do something out of the strike zone? What's his changeup look like if you've never faced him? Does he have a good curveball? So all of those things, you're right. If you start thinking about what's his next pitch going to be, all of a sudden you put yourself in a position you're either out front on a ball or you're way behind on it if they sneak a fastball past you, or they pitch backwards to you, where instead of starting you out with a fastball, now they're starting you out with some of their junk, or they back up junk to junk to junk. I just saw recently in a softball tournament, a girl threw like 5 changeups in a row. That's unheard of in softball. For softball, they pop some fastballs in there, throwing it at 70, 72 miles an hour. This girl kept going for 58, 58 because she saw that other girl leaking, constantly getting out front of it. So as a hitter, did you like hitting more than pitching, or was it the opposite?
Uh, yeah, I definitely liked hitting more than pitching. I'm not gonna lie to you because I almost felt like if I strike somebody out when I was pitching, it's just like expected. Like nobody really like makes an expression or anything. But if I hit a home run while I'm hitting, it's like a lot better feeling.
Yeah. Now that makes sense to me. I mean, obviously, there have been many players in time that flip flopped. Babe Ruth, I'm sure that's the most famous. But currently in today's world, you got Shohei Ohtani, and he's a phenomenal pitcher, and he's obviously a phenomenal hitter. Is that something you've thought about trying to keep as you move forward? Because let's face it, when you get to college, usually baseball in high school, you're still doing both. You're still hitting, you're still pitching. That's common. In fact, I wrote down some stats. Please correct me if I'm wrong, sir. I believe this last year you had a 554 batting average. Is that correct?
I think it's around that. I
Yeah.
haven't looked at it.
You hit 7 dingers.
I had 10.
10. Okay. Well, I missed a couple there. See, obviously. And it shows that you had 78 plate appearances, but only struck out 6 times. Do you even know that?
I did know that because I actually counted those, but it's actually more than that because
More plate appearances or more
I don't know.
strikeouts?
I think those stats might be like before playoffs is what those
Probably
stats are.
so. Yeah, I only pulled what I could find on the internet. I like to do my homework. Now, your mom would tell you that's not the Chris Camp I knew in school. She would be correct. I didn't do my homework in school. So this is a lot better for me, right? So I can do homework on stuff I love. But those are very impressive stats. One of the things that stands out to me about the lack of strikeouts per plate appearance is those great hitters in time, like a Tony Gwynn or a Wade Boggs. That tells me, though, that you see the ball very well. So it's not just the fact that you're trying to guess along with the pitcher, but you have to see the ball well to get hits and to not strike out. So then, do you see yourself being a pitcher and a hitter in college?
Um, I mean, I love hitting, but I just think like as a business standpoint, like it's
Hmm.
a lot easier to be a pitcher than to hit as well, because like great pitchers in the major leagues they pitch like 50 games a year at the complete most. Like it's
That's your
probably not,
relief pitchers, even. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's probably not even that to be honest with you. It's like what like
Starters
20,
are usually in the low 30s,
yeah,
usually. Yeah.
but like 30, 33 games a year.
Hmm.
That's all you have to like play, and that's all you had to like do good at. Well, position players got to play 162 games a year.
That's smart. That's
They
true.
normally don't play 162 games a year because they'll take a rest, but still, like 158 games a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder to be great in 158 games than it is to be 30, 33.
I would agree completely. So that's a great option that you obviously have, and sounds like that you're pretty well rounded on this. Who's your influence right now as you're going through high school? Who's the person that's helping you focus and think about the next steps of your life?
Um, it's probably man, it's probably like it's probably my family, to be honest with you. Like they've had so much like faith in me ever since I was younger. I think they probably had more faith in me than before. Like I even had faith in myself, to be honest with you, because they've always taken you know, like obviously when I was really young, they didn't take baseball as seriously because like he offered me a boat to like stop playing. But as I got older and he kind of like saw that spark in me, and saw that I was progressing, he started like you know taking it a lot serious. Like there'd be a couple days I'm like, because I would go work out in Hernando, which is Hernando's like an hour and 5 minutes from my house, and I would go work out when I was in eighth grade. Well, after school, I'd have to drive down there. I hate like I'd be so tired, man. I'd be like, I'm not doing that. My dad would be like, you can just sleep in the truck. Just sleep in the truck. I'll drive down there. You can get your rest before you even start working out. I was like, Dad, I don't want to work out. Well, he'd be like, you need to work out. You ain't worked out this week. So it's like my dad he'd always push me to be my best, and then like my mom is like my number one supporter.
That's great. And I would agree with you on that, even though I don't know everybody in your world, but I know your mom definitely is a huge supporter, obviously. And she's posting stuff constantly, which is what I love to watch. And that's how I ended up getting to know about you. So uh you're right. You need somebody in your corner that's going to help you to do the hard things, especially when you don't want to do them. Self-discipline is something that you've really got to work at, and you got to be intentional towards that as well. So those are tools that he was giving you and helping you with when you're young. So now when you get out of here and you start into your next phase of life, now that you're about to get out of high school, those things will stay with you. And you're talking about that now. So it tells me that it made an impression on you. So let's talk about what it was like being a high school pitcher. So once you start into this is for me, whenever I went to high school, that's whenever you're kind of on a stage. Now, you probably had some different experiences than me. They didn't have the big network of competitive teams whenever I was young. I'm almost 52, Landon. Those days were many, many days ago. So they didn't have that kind of competitive cycle where you could go into all these big tournaments. So high school is where you really start to see not only your talent shine, but people to notice your talent. What was it like for the 4 years in high school being that guy that is obviously excelling in pitching that the team leans to when they need to shut it down? What was it like being a student and a ball player in high school at the top of your game?
So I told you like I just started going to public school in eighth grade. I mean I did like okay at school, but I didn't do like as good as like the next year, because after that next year and like I kind of got the hang of it and stuff like that. I really started to like excel in the classroom. And then also like getting the offer from Mississippi State, that made me want to excel even more because like
Mm.
that having good grades and stuff like that, that gives you leverage, when it comes to the draft and stuff like that. And then also like at Ace Union, like our teachers are like they're pretty good. I mean, our grades and stuff like that. Like I had a 3.93 GPA. Well,
Awesome.
I was 18th in the class, so it seems awesome, but like there's 17 people in front of me because like our teachers are very good at that. And then also like I didn't really have a problem like balancing it per se because they would actually schedule it around like if we had like a practice or something like there's been like a couple of times where we had an away game, it was like 2 hours away maybe. He would just like our teacher would let us out of class and go hit so that we'd have time to hit. So that's something that I really liked because they understood that that's like our sport, and that made me want to do better in their class just because like they're being nice to me and letting me go and stuff like that.
That's true. The encouragement and the support does make you want to go the extra mile. Look, I've been a part of a lot of programs in my life, and you're speaking my language. The idea that somebody believes in you so intensely that they want to try to help you become successful does make you want to give that back to them. So that makes sense. And I'm glad that you mentioned the academic necessity in this. So, what you're a part of is a mini series of high school athletes that are excelling in their sport. And the lady that's sharing the spotlight with you, she goes to Hernando High School, and she's a softball phenom. She made the high school team in seventh grade. She's in 10th grade year. She's going into her 11th grade year now. Just an absolute stellar stud. And I had the immense pleasure of being able to be one of her coaches when she was younger. It was just, you could see it in her immediately. But that's the thing she highlighted was it wasn't enough to be great at softball. School had to come first, and excelling at school gave her so many more opportunities in softball. So that message is important to young people that'll be watching this all over the country saying to themselves, yeah, but I'm the best baseball player. I'm the best softball player. But your grades matter because coaches look at that. Coaches want to see somebody that's excelling in the academics because that also tells them that they're able to pay attention and they're going to learn and they're going to grow in the sport that they're going to go into. So you said you got your first offer in ninth grade. What did that start to evolve to your sophomore year, your junior year? What other colleges started paying attention to you?
So the first offer that I got was actually Mississippi State, and it was beginning of my ninth grade summer in Atlanta. So after that, that's kind of like when it started like heating up. I got several other offers and stuff like that. But like Ole Miss and Mississippi State were really the only ones that I was even thinking about
Yeah.
because they were obviously I'm from Mississippi. I was actually a Ole Miss fan growing up,
Interesting.
but my mom taught at Mississippi State. So,
Mm.
and then at the time, Ole Miss had just won a national championship, and then Mississippi State won it the year before. So I was thinking like, there's just no way I'm going to go like anywhere else. So I
Mhm.
talked to some other colleges, but I kind of like turned them down because I was like I'm not gonna. And they're all like verbal commitments and stuff like that. And I don't care about having like some kids like to flex their offers and stuff like that on social media. That's just not what I'm about. I don't want to waste anybody's time, so I'm just gonna be straight up with people when it comes to like I'm not going to there like Louisiana Monroe or something sent me something. I was like I'm just not going. Like it's
Yeah.
not a knock on them. It's just I'm from Mississippi and it's also cheaper because I was thinking about this at the time. I didn't have like a full ride at the time when I was in ninth grade because they were still offering me on projectability. They weren't because I was throwing 90, which seems like decent, but that's not D1. That's not like enough to be a starter at Mississippi State yet. So I was still kind of developing to where I needed to go.
So then as you get to your junior year, your senior year, you're hitting 100 miles an hour. You're getting up there 97, 98, 99, close to 100. Um, if I remember this correctly, and forgive me for not writing down the year, you threw a perfect game at some point, correct?
Yes, sir. So
Tell me, what grade were you and what was that like? Because that's a special moment.
that was my sophomore year. So sophomore year, our team was absolutely stacked with talent because we had so just this past year we had in my class we had four commits and we're about to have another one. He's going to walk on, but still, or no, we had six because we also had a junior that's going to junior college. So we had like four or five junior colleges, and then we had me. Well, my sophomore year we had Rhett Johnson. He's at South Alabama now, so he's D1. And then we also had Jude Treadaway. He's at ICC right now, but he's hitting 400, and he
Mm.
has D1 offers. So we had three D1 players on the same team, and we also had like five, six JUCO players on the same team. That year, the coaches, I'll always remember this because I watched the interview. They said they could handle velo. That was a completely
Mm.
false. They could not handle velo. It seemed like anywhere like up in the zone, they just were not touching it.
Hmm.
And then a perfect game, like you know how that goes. Like nobody says a word. Like
Oh,
everybody,
anybody talking to you?
ain't nobody talking. They are dead silent the entire game.
Hey, let me ask you, at what inning did you recognize you had something going on?
I recognized the second to last inning. Just
Mm.
recognize it because I was thinking like they didn't get a hit off of me. Then I was like, wait, I don't have any walks either, and then nobody has any errors. So nobody's even been on base. And I also recognize that I literally did not even get out of the wind up the entire game. So I was like, wait, I haven't even gotten the stretch the whole game.
Starts
And
to
then
come together. You're like seventh inning. You're thinking, dang. Y'all played 9 innings, right? Single game was 7 innings.
we play seven.
7 innings. So fourth inning, you're thinking this, and now all of a sudden you start to realize control the zone. Does it get into your head? Does it start to change anything, or you just calm yourself and stay the mechanic, stay the course?
No, I don't, it didn't really like get into my head. I'm just trying to, I was kind of feeling it that day too, because I could pretty much put the ball wherever I wanted. But yeah, it didn't get into my head per se until the last out because we put in our we put in some of the seniors that like don't start, because
Hmm.
yeah, so we put them in to get playing time and stuff like that, and then a fly ball went to our right fielder who like he hadn't played, but he caught it and he made the play. That was the only time I was like really like, oh God,
Nervous.
please catch it, please.
Did the coach not know what was at stake?
He did, but like I don't blame him for it. Like some
Yeah.
of these kids, like they didn't get to play all year, and like if they're seniors, I'm for it. Just put them, and it wasn't like we were putting them at like main positions too, because like Rhett and Jude were still at shortstop and second base, and then our first baseman was a senior too already, so and he starts, so it wasn't like crazy positions, it was like outfield,
Yeah.
but and my catcher at the time, I don't know why Drew didn't catch me, but we had Connor Timms catch me for that game. Drew was usually the one that caught me, but during that game it was Connor Timms,
Were
and
you
he just
calling the shots, or was the catcher calling the pitches?
it was my coach that was
Oh, the
calling him.
coach. Yeah,
I can I can
that
say,
makes sense.
but
Yeah, so
I
that's interesting. You know who Matt Cain is?
don't.
So he's from Germantown. He pitched in the big leagues for a long time. I'm bringing that up because his shining moment was a perfect game in the big leagues. He was pitching for the Giants, and same thing. He had some players out of position. They made some big plays for him. Of course, every perfect game is going to have a couple of those plays that have to be a stellar moment. And he had that, of course, and he pitched like, oh man, who knows? I'm getting this wrong. It's like 130, 140 pitches, not what you normally see big leaguers go to today. So that's a big moment, man. That has to be a shining star for you. That's not something every pitcher gets to experience.
No, it's definitely not. But when I was younger, it was. I'm not gonna say like it was like not as sweet as like my senior year winning it, or actually, I am gonna say that. I'm not gonna lie. it was definitely great and stuff like that. But it was game one, you know, we beat them 14-0. So it was, I'm not gonna say it was like
Could have been 1-0.
right.
Stakes would have been higher.
If it was 1-0, I would have been like going crazy. But it was just like the kind of fact that it was like a blowout game,
Hmm.
and I don't know, man.
It makes sense. That makes perfect sense, actually. The intensity wasn't there, other than, in fact, I'll give you credit on this, Landon. I think, my opinion, I think it's harder to stay locked in when you have a blowout. I think it's easier to kind of let a ball leak over the center of the plate because the game is out of hand. You know you're going to win. And sometimes I think that's the bigger mental challenge is to stay focused on making your pitches the way you need to make them to be able to continue such a rare event such as being a perfect game. I mean, throwing a no hitter is not easy. Throwing a perfect game, not many people do that at any level. I don't care who you are. I mean, granted, at 12 years old, if you're like 6 foot tall and you're throwing 80 miles an hour, maybe you get a lot of perfect games. But once you get to that higher competitive level, it's not so easy. So when you get into high school, how many? I'm sorry, I wrote it down somewhere. I don't have it on these notes. How many championships did you have y'all won? Is it four straight?
It's not four straight.
Okay.
It's we won my freshman year, sophomore year, but then we lost game three my junior year, and then we won, my senior year.
You just won this past year, the 2A state championship, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So very awesome career in high school. Very few kids even get to say they won a state championship. I think it was my sophomore year. We came in second in state. So it's not easy to win the championship. So you guys done it 3 out of your 4 years in high school. At this point, here you are. You just graduated. Now, did you commit to Mississippi State? Is that where you've committed to?
Well, I've signed with them now.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
It's
Yes, you signed with them. What's the plans moving forward right now?
I kind of like can't like I can't really like say
Okay.
anything because I haven't even talked to like the head coach at Mississippi State yet. He hasn't even talked to me. I'm glad that Justin Parker came back though. I'll tell you that. I was really glad to hear that, but I still just have to wait. I mean, they haven't gotten a chance to talk to their high school players.
Well, I know it's fresh. In fact, it's so fresh out of high school. You weren't even sure if you're going to be available today because you might have been going to Florida, but it's just uh, you're fresh out of high school right now. The opportunities and possibilities are wide open. Now, your mom shared with me, if you can't talk about this, we can always edit because that's what we can do. Um, can you talk about your tryouts didn't you go to the Rangers camp and a Braves camp?
I didn't go to the Braves camp, but I'm going. I went to the Rangers camp, and then I'll go to the Rays camp.
Braves. Okay. So what was that like? Can you talk
Uh,
about that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I can talk about that. It's not anything special. They just get your numbers, vertical jump, grip strength. They see how well your mobility is in your shoulder and hips and stuff like that, and then you just throw like 25 pitches. So
So is there a large group out there watching you?
Uh, yes, there's a very large group watching me. So it's like the general manager, which is like the top dog. He makes the final decision on if you get drafted or not. He was standing like right next to me,
Mm.
and I think it's like every area scout that they have is like right behind me, pretty much. Or I don't know if it's all of them, but it was a lot of them. And then they had a couple other guys back there that was like kind of the analytics guys and stuff like that, watching the what is it called, the track man, see what kind
Mhm.
of your pitchers are doing and stuff like that. And then they also see like because they can see how the ball like moves and stuff like that. So depending on how the ball moves, they might be interested in how you hold it, like what your grip is. They were interested on my sweeper because they were like, I've never seen somebody throw a sweeper like that. And then they were also interested on my two seam because my two seam has such like like it moves like arm side so much,
Mhm.
and they don't usually see that from high school pitchers because usually like your off speed and the movement pitches they start moving even more when you get older. So it was definitely a lot of people that were
Were you
watching.
nervous? I mean, it seems like an easy answer, but I'm just curious. What were you feeling?
So I actually wasn't nervous, and
Okay.
It's because like when I was 15, when I actually like started getting like all the offers or whatever, I was at the future games. And if you know anything about future
I
games,
do.
it's like, you know, depending on how many scouts are like watching your game, but in that sportsplex, there's going to be like 250 scouts at a time, and 450 scouts are going to come in and out of there. So
Hmm.
there was probably, I don't know how many there were at my game. I'm going to say like roughly like 150 college scouts. So that was when I was 15. I'm not going to lie. When when I did that for the first time, I was very nervous.
I could imagine.
All these events and stuff that I went to like last summer, like it wasn't college scouts, it was MLB scouts that were watching me. So
Mm.
it you kind of get used to it. I'd say like at East Coast Pro, there was like shoot, probably like 100 MLB scouts or something like that. And there's multiple scouts from each team because obviously there's not 100 teams in the major leagues.
Right.
So it was multiple scouts from each team, kind of like bouncing ideas off of each other the whole time. I almost like love it now though because you can usually like get a reaction out of people. And like East Coast Pro, I don't throw 100% until the first pitch that I throw to a batter. So I'm throwing like sometimes it's like 80%, sometimes I'm throwing like 70% in warm ups, and then that first pitch comes and I'm letting it go. Well, the
Hmm.
pitch at East Coast Pro was 98 miles an hour, and when you throw 98 miles an hour, like the first pitch, then you look around and you see people like kind of like whispering to each other and stuff like that, and then you see them like pull out their clipboard and start writing stuff down. So I think I just like it. And then, like I just said with the Rangers, they were asking me about my grip and stuff like that. They don't ask people about their grip when it was like a terrible pitch. Like if you just sucked it up
Yeah.
and threw it, it sucked. He's not going to ask you how you threw that pitch because he doesn't want to know.
That's a good point. Yeah,
And
so you getting the exposure early, I think, is what you're saying is basically it's helped you kind of absorb some of that stage fright because I think that's also normal. If a person hasn't been there, done that, and this is their first time, it can be overwhelming. But you've kind of seen it and smelled it, so to speak, enough times now that you know what to expect. One, and I think the fear of the unknown is what shuts down a lot of people from trying stuff in general. So here it is, you faced it, and now you're kind of embracing it, and the fact that you know what you can do also to grab attention. That's huge, man. That's actually years beyond a normal 17 or 18-year-old kid is knowing what that thing is that's their talent, skill set moment to grab a person. Now, I can tell you this when I speak on a stage, I know within the first 2 minutes if I got the audience's attention and if they're on the edge of their seat. And knowing how to do that and how to bring them in, man, that's a super valuable tool to have. So when you go and you try out, you come back home, life back to normal for a second, no guarantees of anything. Do they let you know when to possibly think that you might hear something, good or bad?
so it's not really like the Rangers events. It's not really like a tryout per se.
Okay.
It's just so that people can like look at you because obviously all the area scouts have seen me pitch, but the area scout's job is to convince the general manager to pitch me. So there might be an area scout from California convincing the general manager to pitch or to pick a pitcher from over there at the same time. So they might be like arguing about that. But at the end of the day, it's the general manager who makes the decision. Well, the Rangers general manager, he had seen me prior, but I guess it wasn't like my best outing or something like that. And so he wanted to see me again. And so I kind of have to show up so that everybody can see me pitch, not just the area scouts. So
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
of it.
You know, you with pitching or hitting nowadays, there's so many analytics and they have such a science to it. And now they can actually monitor everything about your pitch from the way you land to the way the ball rotates out of your fingers and then how much break it has. I mean, it's very scientific. How much of those analytics do you use to try to help better your pitches that you have?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't use that at all, to be honest with you. Like going to a small school, we don't really have access to that. I had a little bit of access to it at base, but it wasn't. I never got up to 100% bullpens at base, so it didn't really do me much good because my pitches weren't at its best. But I try to like stay away from that. I mean, I think it makes you think too much. Obviously, like as I get older, I am going to start looking at it because it will make you better if you dig into it. But high school, I don't think you really have a reason to look at that, in my opinion.
No, I think that's a great analysis. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it could be different for every single person. Maybe there's areas they could benefit from if it's, maybe the way they're holding the ball or maybe how their release is. I know that there are certain things that people look for to stay away from when it comes to pitchers, whether that's how they come across their body. I know they talk bad about like Max Scherzer. He was an anomaly because he would whip his arm across his body, and they always talked about how they were amazed. He would dip down low and whip his arm across. But what hurts one person may be the thing that works for another person. And then in the long run, what you just said makes a lot of sense to me. Keep it simple. And keeping it simple sometimes is the best approach because then you don't overthink things. You're not trying to do too much. You're just being yourself, allowing your natural talent to take over. Transition into something real quick. So I've had a couple friends go pro. Uh, I'm not sure if you know who Bill Selby is. He's one of the coaches down at Northwest Community College, but he played for a couple big league teams. His claim to fame for me was the moment he hit a grand slam walk-off against my boy Mariano Rivera. I'm a big Yankees fan. My daughter's name is Mattingly after Don Mattingly. These are all before your days. You'd have to look these people up probably. But the thing about each level is that you learn a lot. It's not like where you're at in high school, then all of a sudden you go to single A, then you go to double A. Every step obviously is a lot better. There's a lot more involved. The game speeds up on you, if you will. Austin Riley coming out of DeSoto County went straight out of high school. I think he was committed to Mississippi State, but ended up going straight to the minor league system, rose quickly, and now he's a perennial all-star up in the big leagues. My question to you is something you may not be able to answer right now. I don't know. Would you consider the idea of going from high school into minors if drafted?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Right now, like, it'd have to be like the right number. But like I said, like I get leverage because of like my good grades and
Hmm.
like I'm a high schooler, so I still have that college option. So that's kind of like what gives me leverage on that.
Yeah, you have options, and that's beauty. Whenever you're in high school and you're coming out, you don't have to make a definitive decision in that moment. Obviously, you can see what develops. I wrote down some statistics on you. I have you at 6'5". Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And 190 pounds? That is still accurate. Do you have a goal for any of this? Obviously, you can't make yourself taller. Are you trying to bulk up or get bigger, or are you going to stay, 196.5?
Right now, I'm just trying to stay how I am.
Okay.
Um, Me not weighing that much is just that's even better for like the draft because and like that makes him think, if he's 190 and he's throwing 99 miles an hour and he's also 6'5", so he has that room to grow. That
Hmm.
just sweetens the pot per se.
No, that's absolutely correct. That's great answer right there. Because I was curious about that. You don't want to be maxed out where they feel like they have no other path to go with you. So
Right.
clearly they see that they're like, hey man, this is just the tip of the iceberg for him. So you mentioned that you were trying to get a little better each year from freshman to sophomore to junior, whether that be speed on the fastball, maybe that's a different type of breaking pitch. What right now is Landon working on to try to make himself better for 2026?
Well, I just so junior year, I was four seam, two seam, change up, and sweeper. But this past season, I added a slider in. So my sweeper was like I call this slow, but it's a really big jump from my fastball. It was like 81 to 83. So it's not slow, but it was very slow, like compared to my fastball.
Hmm.
And as I talked to people, they said I needed like a harder breaking ball. So in the off season, I started throwing a harder, like slider, like cutter type pitch that really tunnels off of my fastball. And I only worked on it for like a month or something like that, and then I started throwing it in game, and I got a lot of success from it. Like, and that was just, I mean, I literally just started throwing it this past season. So if I can just develop that pitch, and then also my changeup, like I throw it in bullpens all the time, but in high school, I threw it one time the entire season. It's just not. It's like there's no reason to every pitch that you throw is based off of how the hitter reacts to it. So
Sure.
if the hitter's fouling the ball off and he's late, he's bad late, you're not going to throw a changeup to slow it down and pretty much help him out. So there was no reason for a changeup unless there's a hitter that can like really hit your fastball, which I did come into like one of those hitters, but I threw one changeup to him and it
So
was a
are you
strike.
still working to develop that?
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's like one of the main things that like if I do get drafted and I do decide to go to the draft, then that will be what they work on like mainly because
Yeah.
the four seam, two seam, sweeper and slider, all four of those pitches I can throw a strike with. But the changeup is like the main one that like I can't like put wherever I want it really yet
You
because it
know,
doesn't I don't have experience with it.
yeah. When you go from one level to the next two, the fastball eventually becomes just another tool pitch you got to have. But if you don't have those off speed pitches, they're going to hit the fastball. Once you get to the minor leagues, they're hitting fastballs really good. You get to the big leagues, they're sitting on a fastball a lot of times. So yeah, you definitely got to have those other ones. And it sounds like though that you got a really good head wrapped around what is needed and how to work on those things. So getting close to the finish line here. So Landon, what is the idea? So you set goals. You sound like you're very intentional. I'm going to say this. I'm putting it out there. Stay healthy, keep grinding, stay focused, stay humble. The big leagues is just a little ways off. Do you have a dream of what team you're going to go to? I know a person would say any team, but what would be your favorite team? And it's okay to say that. People know that you got favorite teams.
Well, my favorite team, yeah, I've been a Braves fan since I was like really young. I don't think they'll be able to pick me though, because like their picks don't really align with where I'm projected to go. Maybe one day I get like traded or something like that, or maybe
So Garrett Cole was a Yankees fan. I don't know if you knew that about him. He grew up a Yankees fan and he was very vocal about that. A lot of players, they have their favorite team growing up, and that's a goal of theirs is to one day be able to put on that uniform. So I think that's an awesome, awesome thing. You'd be right down the road, obviously, from Mississippi, right up the road to Atlanta. Um, Austin Raleigh lives in Hernando, and obviously he's a big guy with the Braves now. So that would be a fantastic connection. Well, I know that what happens next for Landon is going to be big. You're predicted in the top 40 ish draft picks in America out of high school. Is that correct? I don't know which number it is now. Shifts around. You were like at 44 last time I looked. So
well, it's like 47th according to like MLB pipeline, but it's not out of high school. It's like everybody, so like
oh,
college
college
people
too.
too.
Okay. Wow, I didn't see that for whatever reason. I pull up stats. Look, I'm gonna tell you something, Landon. Googling is not my strong point. I'm good at talking, bad at looking. So then 40 something out of the nation. That is fantastic. Clearly, you're going to be up there, dude. Keep working hard. I'm super proud of you. I'm excited to see where you go. I just have one question for you. Once you get drafted and you go and play your first season, will you come back here and share with my listeners what it's like your first year in the big leagues?
Absolutely. If I make it to the big leagues, I will get on whatever podcast. I mean, I'll get on anything.
Come on back here. In fact, at that time, you got to get in here. We'll come in off season. Come on over here to Hernando, sit in the studio. It's a great venue out here. You would love it. But I am excited for you. I know that you have huge things in your future. I appreciate you taking some time to spend with me and share this message with other people out there. And I'm guarantee you, young people everywhere, they picked up some nuggets of knowledge right here. I mean, a lot of the kids I've coached over the years, they tune in for my baseball and softball stuff. I had Andy Fletcher on January. He's a MLB umpire, umped the World Series this past year. Had some great wise words for young people coming up through the sport. So, is there anything you want to leave my listeners and viewers with as we get to the finish line here today?
I would just say like it doesn't matter like what list you're on or whatever. It just matters how good you are on draft day because that's the biggest thing that I've taken up because I haven't been the best. I haven't peaked out since I was in eighth grade. Like a lot of people have, but sometimes that's a good thing because they see that you're constantly progressing every year. If you've been throwing 95 since eighth grade, 95's okay, but you haven't progressed at all. That's going to not look as good as somebody who's throwing 77 in eighth grade and went all the way up to 95 in like 2 or 3 years. They're gonna like that guy that's constantly progressing more than the guy who's been throwing that fast at an early age.
Very good point. Always grow. That's the story to life, Landon. Never stay stagnant. Keep working. Keep trying to be better. And whenever you show that kind of potential and work ethic, people are going to notice that. So thank you again, sir. Look, enjoy your summer. Baseball's around the corner for you, and then it's just going to be full get. It's 12 months out of a year once you get into the big time, because it's training, it's something all the time. And enjoy the ride, baby. That's what I would say to you. Enjoy the ride, because you only get this one shot at life. Don't take it for granted. Soak it up and tell your mom and them I said hello and thank you for allowing you to come on here and be a guest on the Motivate with Coach Camp show.
Thank you.
All right, to my listeners out there, I want to say thank you to you guys for tuning in. Go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Go to my YouTube and subscribe. Why don't we just do that? And then next week, tune back in, because until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's